in the IEM games yesterday, day before. He apparently used Ghost to counter Banshees, but he said it seemed pretty risky. I haven't seen the games, I'm afraid, but he said he missed TLO missed the EMPs and ended up being rolled over to the Banshees. So, I mean, how do you feel against your chances with Banshees? I mean, this guy's making it. TLO made it look like it was a bit risky.
I mean, it's a difficult. The skills you need to defend against Banshees with Ghosts are not skills that you normally have unless you specifically practiced it. You need to be able to hit EMPs on cloaked air units. You need to be able to stutter step your Ghosts. So you have to be familiar with the attack, like the cooldown on Ghosts. Just about any Terran player who's any good at all can stutter step Marines, but nobody ever uses Ghosts, and more specifically, they don't really use Ghosts in the same way you use Marines. And so most people aren't going to have that training, that timing ingrained. The other thing is, if they catch you with Banshees and you don't have enough Ghosts, you can kind of snowball into this place where they have so many Banshees that you can't reasonably create Ghosts to counter them. And you're also vulnerable to backstabs. If you move out with your army and then 3 Banshees fly into your main, or even just 1 Banshee flies into your main, it can do a lot of damage.
It's we'll say in this game, I think it would make a great spectacle, or great spectators. I mean, I was just watching a replay by myself in my room, and I was excited by watching you try and take on these Banshees. So I hope Terran players pick this up, because it's really fun to watch too. Are we ready with this replay? We're on Silver 3. If we're ready to go.
I'm ready.
Okay, cool.
Whenever.
So let's go the 3, 2, 1, go. So Silver goes Banshees in this game. I mean, were you waiting for this? Did you ask him to do this, or what?
No. I was just like, yo, play me again. I want to try. I've got some changes to the build, and I think in some ways this was him kind of experimenting, seeing like, okay, what I did last game seemed pretty strong, but let's see how it goes against this build. And so then he did his Banshee opener.
And this is just his standard timing build. There's nothing funky about it.
As far as I know.
Yeah. It looked pretty good to me. And obviously I know everything about Terran builds. So, I mean, your build, so at this point, this is the build we posted in the article. It's basically one SCV cut. Did you ever consider cutting any more than that, or does it just not work? I mean, this kind of feels a bit like an altered orbital command build, the way it starts off. Have you thought about cutting any more than that, or are you happy with this one?
The whole point of cutting SCVs is to get your barracks out so that you can't get bunker rushed. And so if 12 racks isn't early enough, which I think it is, you can compare the 2 racks. I'm literally only a couple seconds behind him. But if 12 racks wasn't early enough, then maybe an 11 racks would be necessary.
And have you tried this, just thinking with cutting SCVs, have you tried this on a 2-player map, maybe cutting an additional SCV to get it out faster? Or?
I have not.
Interesting idea. This is interesting. You kill his SCV. I mean, I'm guessing you can't do this all too often, but that's a great start. So obviously, yes. He did still know you were going for Ghost? Did he at this point? So in a normal game that would have been great, but here it's just helpful. Is that right? Or
I think he assumed that I was doing the same build again. I'm not sure if I explicitly said it.
I think
so
actually sorry, go ahead.
Ghost Academy is just starting in the back of my base.
And so that's quite a bit earlier than, well, not, it's a good few seconds earlier than before. I mean, he's only got 2 Marines out, and you're what, half done? Yeah.
Right. And Tech Lab going down. That supply depot building right on time. And the gas works out pretty well here. I have just about 150 when the Tech Lab finishes.
Actually quite perfect, really. That's very close. Did you use your build order tester for this, or did you use your brain?
I mean, I don't remember.
We'll go with brain then.
Yeah,
You don't mind.
I like that thing.
Yeah. So I mean, your SCV scouted him. I mean, you must have an idea of what's going on. Now, see, this is what I noticed is you see he's building a bunker here with your SCV before you die. So, what do you do from this point?
At this point, I'm I'm just looking to see if he moves out with his Marines, because I know I can just snipe the Marines and run away, and that's easy. But I have no intention of actually pushing up the ramp.
But obviously, I mean, I'm guessing a few people who maybe read the build and aren't hugely experienced players. If you don't know if they've got a bunker at their ramp, that's what you do. You don't try and push in, because bunkers will win.
Yeah, the Ghost is really just killing units. It doesn't kill buildings. So you can see one of the big keys about this build is getting really early stim packs. That's going to be super important later on when he tries to push out with Marine Tank. I need that early stim pack in order to take out those tanks quickly. Because once the tanks are gone, and the Marines, most of the Marines get sniped, there's really not a whole lot left doing damage to you.
That's one thing to point out here. So you've got your expansion going down here. So why did you choose now to expand? Obviously you've got a good idea of what he's doing. So did that factor into it? Were you confident you could take out a Banshee push, or were you not aware of it at this point?
The idea was, if he were to go, I think I scan him or something. I do something so that I know he's going Banshees. I see the tech lab, and so I'm making additional ghosts, and at that point I realize he's not going to do some big Marine tank push. I don't need more Marauders immediately, and really just a couple of ghosts is all I need to hold off any kind of aggression so I can safely expand.
So he pushes with, he attacks with his first two Banshees. He does get supply block. Oh, it's coming up in just a moment. So if any of you, watching, Banshees, not only do ghosts actually have quite a lot of health. Oh, here's the Banshee push. Hang on, let's watch this first. So did you immediately know what to do here, or
oh yeah,
Banshee? Yeah.
This is something I've practiced.
And
I think I almost EMP one of my own ghosts. Probably could have done a little bit better on the stutter step there, but EMPing the Banshee is enough at that point. He can't stay and fight. He knows it'll get picked off by the ghosts.
So I think Silver's 00 says it all there. I mean, 3 ghosts completely held off that Banshee push so easily. I mean, Banshee got 3 kills. It works so beautifully. I was so surprised by it. But I've forgotten what I was going to say before this point about ghosts and Banshees. Oh well, I'm sure someone will think of it. So I mean, he comes back in again. Oh, I do recall what it was. So I mean, there's another EMP, so they can't cloak at all. I mean, he loses one. So Banshees, this is what I was going to say. Banshees do 24 damage a shot. Ghosts have 100 health, so that's 5 volleys, and Ghosts do 20 damage back, because remember, Banshees are actually light, despite being flying helicopters. They don't have much armor on them. So, I mean, Ghosts, they're actually, really effective against Banshees. I mean, I'm guessing you feel safe against any opening an opponent does, but this is the one you want them to do. Is that the case?
Yeah, definitely. If I were to pick, if I were to choose my opponent's build order, a Cloak Banshee opening like this is very favorable for me. Instead of doing this Marine tank push, if he had followed up with an earlier expansion, that would have made it a little better, but as long as I have a couple of ghosts ready to EMP and I don't mess up my control... Oh, here we go with the battle. You can see a bunch of snipes. His whole army just kind of disappears.
It's good. Snipes are very powerful, and say it works against Marauders too. Does quite a lot of damage to them. I mean, what, 3 snipes will take out a Marauder?
Right.
It's good. So, just a question coming in here. Say, have you got any recommendations for people who would like to try this build? Like, what's your advice for someone who wants to start picking up this build and adopt it as one of their favored TVT strategies?
It's difficult, and you will probably lose until you get a lot of the timings down and get finer control. A bad player who's just massing banshees against you will win if you're missing your EMPs or you're not controlling your ghosts correctly. Definitely, you can see right here, my ghosts are sitting there. There's a banshee, it's cloaked. I only had one EMP to use, and I hit it, and now the threat is gone. I don't have to worry about these marauders, and now there's a second banshee, and at this point I have to back up because I don't have another EMP.
That's good. Just to remind our viewers, you can head to #Liquipedia or #TeamLiquid, find Folon or Aesop. They're both marked with an ask tag if you have any questions about this build for QXC. We still got quite a bit of time, and this game, it goes on here, so you know you're ahead. You're looking to expand again, 3 expansions. He's only just getting up his second one. I mean, you're in a great spot, and it is pretty much thanks to your ghost opening. Would you agree with that one?
Definitely. Between fending off the early banshee pressure with the ghosts meant he didn't get much return on that at all, and then him not really understanding how powerful my army was at the time, especially against the marine tank composition that he had, and that really comes with him not having practice against this build, which makes sense. I don't think I've ever seen someone do a build quite like this, particularly not executed at the level that I'm doing it at. I've practiced it a whole bunch of times, and like I'm bringing with it all my experience as a StarCraft 2 player. And that's one of the things that new builds like this, they're going to seem bad at first because the execution is going to be poor. They're going to seem really good because other people aren't going to know how to deal with them, and then they're going to start to level out. And that's when you really find out, is this build viable? Does it still work even after people know what it is and are making the right decisions?
So this might be a question you don't really want to answer because it might be very but it might affect you negatively in the future. But like, what would you do? Say Silver was doing this build to you. How would you react? What would you do?
I definitely want to try massing banshees off a proxy starport, because the person doing this build has to make the conscious decision: do I make ghosts or do I make marauders? And if you make that decision wrong, that's pretty important. You can see here this battle, the ghosts just kind of tearing apart all of the bio, sniping everything down. Definitely trying mass banshees, some kind of tank, very early tank pressure. What you could do is move out, pre-build the tech lab, get a bunker, get that first tank, and move out with 3 marines and a tank. Force the ghost player to make marauders to deal with that, and then follow it up with a banshee. Another thing you could do is go straight to banshees. Maybe not even worry about cloak, maybe get cloak, but instead of following up with another attack, go for very fast expansion and just try and keep up economically.
Alright, so this is something else I've noticed. You've gone for the bio upgrades. Have you noticed any particular effects of these with your ghosts? I mean, obviously they're great for marauders or anything, but how would you suggest? Would upgraded ghosts be? Are they noticeably more useful, or is it just, how it just is it for your marauders?
It's mostly for the marauders and the marines, although ghosts with the level 2 upgrade, ghosts will start 2-shotting SCVs, which I suppose is important. But the weapons upgrades and stuff are really just, I'm going a very bio-heavy build. I need to emphasize the fact, and I need to make sure that my bio army is as strong as I can make it.
So that's another key thing. So when I think of a bio army, I'm always thinking of marauders, medevacs, as well. So like, you've just started getting medevacs now on my replay. So why did